Good morning, PASW staff, clients, friends joining us. Welcome to Monday's class. Hope you guys had a great weekend. We had a lot of fun last week with John Adams and then some of the one-hit wonders, and then finishing off with Ryuichi Sakamoto's song Tangpu, East Wind. And we saw the nice aerial footage of the hills and the beaches, and so I want to make sure you guys give me those comments below of what the song reminds you of. So today it's going to be a very fun day. Not too much fun, I hope, because we're going to talk about, of course, somebody that I love. I only tell you about people that I love, and somebody that is world renowned and famous, not living anymore, but just a hilarious, one-of-a-kind performer. And we are talking today about Louis Prima.
When you're smiling, when you're smiling, when you're smiling, when you're smiling, and the whole world smiles with you.
Louis Prima is one of the most famous swing trumpet player singers of all time. What is most important about him is that, like Louis Armstrong, they played swing trumpet brilliantly. The tone was brilliant. What's different than Louis Armstrong and with what everybody else was doing is that he incorporated this up-tempo blues swing music, but started with a little bit of introducing and adapting some of the rock and roll elements. And we're going to listen to that. And I'm going to explain to you how he had swing music here. So back up with me. Classical music, right? Swing music, Dixieland, with Tommy Dorsey, Glenn Miller. 50s, we get kind of R&B, rock and roll with Elvis. So he's in between swing and rock and roll. But he's one of the first to really implement rock and roll styles and attributes to swing music. So unlike Frank Sinatra or Jackie Gleason or other artists like that, they were reluctant to change and to move with the times in the sense of using R&B rock and roll elements. They didn't really want to play that game. Louis Prima embraced that. He embraced what, and I think that's what made his music so popular. So that's what's interesting and different about Louis Prima. So Italian American, born in New Orleans, which is the heart of Dixieland music, in 1910, December 7th, 1910. His father was Sicilian, and neighborhood where he grew up in was a mix of Italian, Jews, Arabs, and blacks. So he was accustomed to all those different kind of cultures. And really what was also important to his music playing was this genre of jump blues. Nobody really calls it that, but again, this is like a subgenre of swing music. Jump blues, it's kind of an upbeat, up-tempo style of blues with horn instruments. And so it was popular kind of in the 1940s and a precursor to rhythm, blues, and rock and roll. So and that's kind of what started the swing revival in the 90s, if you remember, with Brian Setzer's band and other artists. There was a swing revival. The movie Swingers, that for example. This was all started. Louis Prima was one of the founders of this kind of this jump blues swing movements in the 40s. Although not known much for writing songs, he did write one of the most famous swing songs ever written, "Sing, Sing, Sing," which was recorded by Benny Goodman's big band. One of my favorite songs, just full of just pulsating with these rhythms these minor rhythms. So much fun. His version's okay of it, but Benny Goodman has set the standard. But yeah, Louis Prima wrote that song. So he starts all these bands, plays with these different bands, and when in 1948 he meets somebody very important, Keely Smith. Keely Smith is 17 when he meets her, and he's a little bit older. So when in 48 they meet. She becomes a part of the band. They get married. He was married 5 times, so yeah, I don't think fidelity was really one of his strong points, but he had a lot of other strengths. And in the 50s, they really are important because they go to Las Vegas. And before the 50s, Vegas wasn't really that popular. It was just a desert. It was still being built in the 40s with Bugsy Siegel and Mickey Cohen and kind of those LA guys, because when the heat was on too much in the city of LA, they were like, well, we need to get out of here. We want to focus on gambling. Let's go to Vegas. And in the 40s, Vegas really wasn't much of anything. But the 50s, it became where all these nightclubs started happening. All these and Louis Prima and Keely Smith were responsible really for a big part of that nightclub action in Vegas in the 50s.
I blow through here, and the music goes down and round.
So their act was so great. People would come to see because it was not just great, fun music, but also Louis Prima would be hilarious and tell jokes and improvise, and he was such a quick wit, and he would be dangling off the walls at these shows, and she would be stone-faced. So they had this kind of comedic duo act together. And his band, they never read any of the music. They rehearsed all of the time, but they never read charts, so they memorized all the things. There was always a level of spontaneity. He would go into a different song. He was very big on medleys, and just you can hear the spontaneity in some of these recordings. If you hear him say, let him go, he's talking to the saxophonist Sam Butera, who's kind of his right-hand man. That level of spontaneity is prevalent in jazz, obviously, and it's very cool to hear him say on these records, let him go. And all the music that we're listening to right now was recorded at Capitol Records, which we talked about last week. So do you hear the swing part, obviously, but do you hear the influence of rock and roll a little bit, with the drums kind of playing on the 2 and 4 beats? There's, Louis Armstrong, Frank Sinatra, they weren't really doing that. He was kind of pushing the boundaries of swing music in a way that was just, for lack of a better word, fun. It was so much fun. In 67, he does the voice character of the King Louis voice in Disney's The Jungle Book, which I love the song and I love his interpretation of it.
Oh, ooby-doo, I want to be like you. I want to walk like you, talk like you. You see it's true. An ape like me can learn to be human too.
So unfortunately, he spent the last 3 years of his life in a coma, and after undergoing an operation for the removal of a brain tumor in 1975, and he never regained consciousness. So he was 67. So didn't live a long life, but I'm sure he lived a very full life.
And there will come a day.
So the inscription on the crypt's door of his grave quotes one of the lyrics of his most famous song. It says, "When the end comes, I know they'll say, just a gigolo, as life goes on without me." So yes, life is going on without Louis Prima, but we have them in our hearts and our minds. He makes me smile every single time I hear his voice and hear the trumpet. So life does go on, but thank God we have Louis Prima. and just such a fun music, and so just brilliant. So hope you enjoyed this class about Louis Prima. Miss you guys, love you guys. See you tomorrow for Tuesday. All right.
So bad, and I'll sing her sweet love song. I love the time she will only be body bozy but live up.